President Xi Jinping met with the Prime Minister of Vietnam in Hanoi earlier today. Why do you care? Because Xi Jinping's trying to get the Vietnamese on their side. This is what President Trump, who found it important enough to respond to, had to say of the meeting in the Oval Office.
We lost with China over the Biden years trillions of dollars on trade, trillions of dollars. And he let them fleece us. And we can't do that anymore. And you know what? I don't blame China at all. I don't blame President Xi. I like him. He likes me. I mean, you know, who knows? Who the hell cares? I don't blame China. I don't blame Vietnam. I see their meeting today. Is that wonderful? That's a lovely meeting. The meeting, like trying to figure out how do we screw the United States of America?
Fact check, true. China announced it would stop sending the United States rare earth minerals today. So remember the supply chain problems of the pandemic we all dealt with. China is now creating a supply chain problem with critical components for high-tech weapon systems, fighter planes, and medical equipments. It matters. With us now, Evelyn Farkas, Executive Director of the McCain Institute and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for President Obama, Gordon Chang, U.S. China Relations Analyst, Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow, I think one of the smartest people on China around. Gordon, China's been preparing for this day, I think, for what, 30 years? What does Xi Jinping want?
Well, Xi Jinping wants to rule the world, but his intermediate goals are to destroy the United States, and he wants to do that with trade. And as you point out, he's got this rare earth embargo. The problem for the Chinese is that they tried this tactic in 2010 with Japan, and their embargo collapsed within 2 months. And the reason is that these don't work because although we've got to buy, the Chinese have got to sell. So they will sell onto the open market. They'll maybe even sell to us directly under the table, but we will get what we need. And really, this is not a card for China. The problem for Xi Jinping is that the cards he has to play hurt him or as much or more than it hurts us. And then we've got a lot of things which we can hurt him, and he has no answers to those things.
You seem to say that we have the upper hand.
Yeah, of course. First of all, we're the larger economy. Our economy is, their economy is less than 2/3 the size of ours. They're the trade surplus country. Last year, their merchandise trade surplus was $295.4 billion. They've got everything to lose in all of this. So, yeah, we've got the high cards, and the Chinese know it. And the only card that China has, it's trying now to use Wall Street, farmers, C-suites, you name it, to try to get Trump to preemptively surrender. You know, Trump is not the type of guy who's going to give up the high cards when he knows that he has the leverage. So this is important to him, as Bill O'Reilly just told you. I think he's going to stay the course.
Evelyn, think what you want about Trump's tactics. We talked about those in the past segment. Bowing down to China has been a bipartisan issue over the past 30 or 40 years, not confronting China. There was always this idea that we could bring them into the fold. You got to give Trump credit right now for trying here, right?
Well, I think, Leland, he tried in the first term. Remember, he had also applied sanctions against China. But that time it was in a much more precise fashion, and he explained that he was doing it based on national security considerations. And it was so convincing that, of course, the Biden administration continued those tariffs. And to this day, all of those tariffs are still in place. The problem with the current tariff policy, if you will, is that it's not, as you said, not clearly articulated in the earlier segment. And they are across the board. And I would say, you know, to add on to what Gordon said, I think both sides have a lot to lose. And, you know, I'm a political scientist, not an economist, so I won't talk in dollars and cents, but I will say that we are so, you know, interwoven with the Chinese in terms of our economy, in terms of the bond market, where the Chinese have a great deal of leverage that they haven't used yet, right? So it's hard for me to say that anyone's going to be a winner. And frankly, what I worry about is protectionism. You know, if you have an arms race, if you will, on protectionism, who can have the highest tariffs, you lead to a situation where the global economic order unravels, and you could very much see real armed conflict resulting. And why do I say that? Because we have history as an example that's happened before in the past.
Gordon, Xi Jinping said basically as much, right? That there's no winners in this trade or tariff war. That said, I think he is trying to, you say, fight this kind of hybrid warfare against America. One of the places on social media where suddenly my social media feeds are now filled with videos of people talking, clearly people meant to be Chinese, about how much cheaper it is to make stuff in China. Take a look.
You're saying you're the supplier behind all these beauty accessories for those big luxury brands? Dior's cosmetic products are actually produced by Taiho Group, which is also the supplier behind Lancome and Loewe.
For the past more than 30 years, we have been the OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world: Gucci, Prada, Coach.
What's the game plan here? Because I don't think this is a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence. And when you have Chinese propaganda, you can usually understand that they're sensitive about something and that usually the truth is the opposite of what they say. So, yeah, China has been making a lot of Gucci handbags, but the point is you can do that a lot cheaper in Vietnam. The Vietnamese know that. They'd rather deal with America than with China. And by the way, Vietnam doesn't have territorial disputes with us, but they have a lot of territorial disputes with China. They've gone to, matter of fact, the last time China went to real war was in 1979 against Vietnam. So clearly, you know, Xi Jinping can go to Southeast Asia, but those countries don't want to deal with him.
Yeah, fair enough. Evelyn, last 30 seconds to you. You think about the size of the Chinese military. As of 2024, their Navy, China 235 warships, U.S. 219. Their army is smaller, but it is still than it was, say, in the 1970s, but still 2 million active military personnel, much larger than the United States. Are they gearing up for a war?
Well, they certainly want to deter us from fighting them if they seize Taiwan, for example, if they want to cut off access through the South China Sea. So they're gearing up for a war, yes. I will say that we still have an advantage in terms of quality of our military. I am worried that there are reports of increasing numbers of Chinese personnel fighting in Ukraine. That means they're actually getting battlefield experience, which the Chinese do not have, because, you know, Gordon's
they
example
haven't fought a war, yeah, for a long time.
One. And the skirmishes with India on the border don't count either.
Well, it's fascinating. What you just said about them having soldiers in Ukraine and why is terrifying to anybody who knows anything about military training. Evelyn, Gordon, thank you both. Incredible insight. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.